Play my intro soundtrack.
Sure. Here's the self-titled album by DJ Sound Effect.
Don DeMarco. What's up, everybody? This is Danny. This is the Apple HomePod, and despite the title of this video, this is not a video to bash the HomePod, because actually it's a nice sounding speaker. It's really compact. It's much smaller than you would imagine it is. It's got nice directional speakers all the way around, really good bass, crisp highs, a little bit of drowning out in the mids, but it's actually a really nice sounding speaker, and it's really easy to set up. It works flawlessly with Apple Music. But this video is more geared towards what Apple's been doing lately. I feel like even though this is a good sounding speaker, it is the most incomplete Apple product that's been shipped in a long time. And I just want Apple to stop shipping us products that are not ready. Before people start getting crazy and calling me all kinds of names in the comments, it's not an ecosystem thing for me. I own a MacBook Pro, iMac, iPad, iPhone 10, a lot of Apple products. I own them, so it's not an ecosystem thing for me at all. If you're a huge Apple Music fan and you just want a speaker that has Siri built inside and want some good sound, this speaker's for you. But for everyone else, I think they can do a little bit better. So let's go to the history of the HomePod first, because a lot of people don't know that this was announced in June 2017 at WWDC. It was supposed to ship in December. There were some delays. I think a lot of investors were pretty pissed that this didn't come out in the time of the holidays because they could have had a lot of sales on this. So they said there was a delay to get the HomePod together to give you that right experience. So here's February, HomePod is out, and it's missing a ton of features. So here's my position on why I think you shouldn't buy an Apple HomePod quite yet, no matter if you're an Apple fan or if you're not. So this speaker was meant to drive more Apple Music subscriptions, and I totally understand that. So they want to keep it walled into Apple, and that's absolutely no problem. But this speaker cannot even be set up unless you have an iOS device. So if you don't have an iPhone or iPad, you can't even set this thing up at all. So what if you like the speaker the way that it looks, or what if you want to gift this to a family member and they have an Android phone, or they use Android tablets, or they use a Windows computer? You can't even set this thing up. So that already blows my mind. So I can see a lot of you saying, wait. This speaker was only made for Apple users. And maybe you can make that point, but if Apple only wanted Apple Music used on their devices, then why is Apple Music available on Android? So they could have easily put that into the Apple Music app on Android to where you can set up the HomePod and use it with that. So that's kind of mind-blowing if you think about it. And I've seen some other videos where people had a lot of trouble setting this up, even with an iPhone 10 or iPhone 8 Plus. So that just shows me that the software is not ready. And the worst part is that this is not even the same Siri that you're gonna get on your phone, because it's kind of limited for a smart speaker. And a lot of people are gonna say, well, they didn't design this or they didn't target this as a smart speaker, but that's absolutely not true, because then it wouldn't be a base for HomeKit and they wouldn't have put Siri on it otherwise. Okay, so HomeKit has zero problems with normal stuff like, what's the weather like?
It's currently cloudy and 82 degrees in Winter Garden. Expect mostly clear skies starting in the afternoon.
So no problems with little things like that, but what if you actually use your smart assistant speaker as an actual assistant? So if I ask, what's my calendar like today?
I wish I could, but I can't access your calendar here.
And don't worry, I didn't forget, Google Home actually didn't ship with this functionality either, so I totally get that. But this can't even make a phone call right now. Make a phone call.
I can't help you make calls on HomePod. Sorry about that.
So you're gonna get this a lot. Siri is wanting to kill me right now. Okay, so Siri might not make phone calls, but it can read back my last messages and send messages in reply. But the problem with that is that there's no voice verification or any kind of security. Any person in my family or in my house can ask for my last text messages and can actually send a malicious reply, and there's nothing you can really do about it unless you turn it off in the settings. And that's a solution that some people have said. I'm serious, people have put that in the comments, just turn that off, but then you lose that functionality. So I don't see how a speaker can ship with this kind of security flaw. It just doesn't make any sense for me. So the next kicker is that I have two speakers here and I can't even link these two up right now because they announced AirPlay 2 when they announced these, how seamless it was supposed to be to link them together, do multi-room audio and all this stuff, and that's not even available right now. You have to wait for a software update to have that simple of functionality, and that's crazy to me. And also, there's Bluetooth 5.0 in these speakers, but they don't give you access to the Bluetooth at all. So if you just wanted to use a different device, or if you wanted to use a tablet or something that's not Apple, and if you just wanted to kind of stream Bluetooth signals to this, you can't. And yes, the Google Home Max is absolutely ginormous. Actually, if you just stack two of these HomePods together, this is pretty much how big this would be. But you have to think about this as a speaker. It sounds great as well. And it also has Bluetooth that's open. It has a USB-C port, and it also has an auxiliary in. So even though that you're locked into the Google services, you can still use this as a standalone speaker, where HomePod, you can't. So this is kind of a concern to me because as long as this speaker is a success, it's gonna be fine if you use Apple products. But what if this is a failure and they stop supporting this in 2 to 3 years? That means you have a brick. You spend $350 for a circular brick. And you have to watch out where you place this thing, because if you haven't seen on the news lately that this ring down here on wood surfaces leaves a big ass stain. So you have to be careful, and you might have to treat this thing like a drink and put a coaster underneath it or something, because it's leaving stains in wood. So once again, please don't think I'm just bashing HomePod for no reason, because there's a speaker for everybody. And I think that if you are a Apple Music fanboy and that's all you listen to, and you want a nice compact speaker that has some Siri functionality and HomeKit compatibility as well, because some people like HomeKit. I think HomeKit is a lot faster than something like Alexa or other voice services, even Google Assistant. It's very, very fast. And you will see more videos coming up on the HomePod and HomeKit smart homes, because I think it's very important in this sense. I'm just talking about how this speaker right now could be literally the dumbest smart speaker out there. I think there's a big misconception that you can only play Apple Music tracks through the HomePod, and it's not true. You can actually AirPlay whatever is compatible. So if you're gonna use Spotify, you can AirPlay tracks to the HomePod, but by voice, you can only use Apple Music. And I think that's the big thing. It's kind of limited. So if the tracks are not on Apple Music, then you won't be able to control it by voice. So let's try this out. Here is play 10,000 Hours by Evidence.
10,000 Hours by Evidence, now playing.
So fast. Hey Siri, stop. Also, the microphones work really good on this. Far field, you don't have to raise your voice, so that is a great thing about HomePod. Play Jay Dilla, The Shining on Spotify.
All right, here's the album The Shining on Spotify.
Ayo!
That's what I like about something like Google Home Max, is that you can just tell it where to play your music, and it's open like that. So really, this is what I want you to think about. And even as an Apple fan, you buy this speaker now, and this speaker is pretty much built on the promise of what it's gonna do in the future. You're even waiting for normal functionality to come through a software update later on. So if you buy this right now, it's such an incomplete product. Basically, all you can do is control some smart home stuff with it and play Apple Music through this. And that's pretty much it. So it's mostly the limited functionality of this speaker. And it is not about the ecosystem or anything. So even if you're not an Apple fan or an Apple fan, you really need to look at what Apple is doing, because they seem to be just pushing out incomplete products all the time. And consumers are buying it because it's Apple. And you're telling Apple it's okay to release incomplete products to us because of pressures by investors or whatever that they're doing to release these products. I just want products that are complete and they work out of the box. This is what Apple used to be known for, and they're slowly losing this over time. And people might say, oh, this has been happening for years, man, wake up. But the iPhone 10 even is the same thing. Great hardware. It was something new and fresh to the lineup, but it was such an incomplete product because a lot of things didn't work properly. Thank God that Face ID works somewhat properly, but it is the buggiest phone I've ever used, and I'm gonna have a long-term review coming up on that soon. But this is where a lot of this frustration comes from, because their software team is just messing things up. I feel like they're not focused, and they're pushing out a lot of things and having a lot of security breaches on the Mac and on iMessage, and they're just this is unlike Apple that I grew up with. I've been using Apple products since the G3 Tower. That was my first Mac, and man, I'm showing my age with that one. But I mean, I just want Apple to get back to what they do best, and even though it's simplified, or if it's wall gardened in, or if it's all locked down to Apple stuff, I don't care about that. I just want things to work properly. If you announce a speaker 6 months, 7, 8 months, when it's released, it should be working properly. So that's my rant here, and I just want you to think about that before you purchase the HomePod. If you want me to actually do some different kind of things or walk through the HomePod, I'm sure there's a ton of videos out there that you can actually watch, but if you want me to do that, or a comparison between these two speakers or the best speakers that are out there, maybe for smart home, sound, whatever, then let me know in the comment section below. And most importantly, let me know if you agree with me on the HomePod. I mean, do you guys have one right now, or do you guys completely skip it and say, oh duh, this video is, everybody knows this, man? But I just felt like I needed to approach this and get this off my chest, because me as a consumer, I just want Apple to get back to their game and give me products that are actually working when I buy them. So, all right guys, subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Thumbs up if you agree, and let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next one.